Welcome back to the channel. What if an ordinary-looking Washington quarter hiding in an old coin collection could actually be worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars? Most Washington quarters are worth exactly 25 cents or a modest collector premium, but a small number of rare dates, mint-mark combinations, double-die varieties, and exceptionally preserved examples have become major prizes in the numismatic world. Some of the finest certified Washington quarters have brought extraordinary prices at auction, proving that condition and rarity can completely transform the value of a familiar pocket coin. So today, we're going on a journey through American coin history to uncover three of the most important and valuable Washington quarter rarities. In this video, we'll explore the history and background of the Washington quarter, examine the unique features collectors look for, compare circulated and mint state conditions, discuss rarity and collector demand, and look at real-world auction results in US dollars. Remember, a coin being old does not automatically make it rare, and a coin described online as worth $1 million isn't necessarily worth anything close to that. Professional authentication, grade, rarity, and actual market demand matter enormously. With that important point established, let's get started. First up, the 1972 Washington quarter with the D mint mark, a coin from an important period in American coinage. While the majority of circulated examples are modest value collectibles, exceptional specimens, major authenticated errors, and coins preserved at extraordinary grades can attract much stronger attention from collectors. That is what makes searching through older quarters so exciting. The Washington quarter has been one of America's most familiar coins since its introduction in 1932. The design was created to honor George Washington and originally appeared as part of the celebrations surrounding the 200th anniversary of his birth. By 1972, the Washington quarter had already become an established part of everyday American commerce, passing through countless hands and businesses. Today, collectors look back at these coins as pieces of 20th century history, and the 1972 D issue provides an interesting snapshot of American coinage during that era. The D Mint mark tells us that this particular quarter was produced at the Denver Mint. The Denver Mint was an important production facility for United States circulating coinage, and its distinctive D designation remains an essential detail for collectors. The 1972 D Washington quarter had a reported mintage of more than 311 million pieces, according to NGC, so the date itself is not an extremely scarce issue. However, the exciting part of collecting is that individual coins can be dramatically different in quality, and exceptional examples can command premiums far beyond ordinary circulated pieces. The obverse features John Flanagan's famous portrait of George Washington facing left. Around the portrait are the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 1972. Even after decades, this classic design remains immediately recognizable. On a circulated example, the portrait may show signs of everyday use, but a well-preserved coin can still display attractive details and strong overall eye appeal. The reverse carries the iconic American eagle with its wings spread, surrounded by the inscriptions United States of America, quarter dollar, and EPLUBUS UNUM. This design represents an important era in Washington quarter history and gives collectors another opportunity to study the craftsmanship of the coin. When examining a 1972 D quarter, both sides deserve equal attention because unusual characteristics can sometimes be easier to recognize on one side than the other. The composition is another important part of the story. The 1972 D Washington quarter is a copper-nickel clad coin rather than the 90% silver composition used for Washington quarters dated 1964 and earlier. NGC lists the 1972 D issue as a copper-nickel clad coin weighing 5.67 grams with a diameter of 24.3 millimeters and a reeded edge. Understanding these specifications can help collectors distinguish the normal 1972 D issue from unusual pieces that may deserve additional investigation. Condition is one of the most important factors affecting collector demand. A circulated 1972D quarter generally has a much lower value than an exceptional mint state example. Current NGC information indicates circulated 1972D quarters at roughly 30 cents to 85 cents in its guide, while pristine uncirculated examples can reach substantially higher levels. This difference demonstrates why collectors should never judge an older quarter simply by its age. Preservation and rarity can make an enormous difference. The auction market provides an even more exciting picture. PCGS records a 1972D Washington quarter graded MS-68 that realized $3,055 at a 2014 Heritage auction sale. Another PCGS auction record shows an MS-68 example selling for $499.38, while other certified examples in lower grades have brought more modest amounts. These results demonstrate how dramatically value can change when an ordinary-looking coin reaches an exceptional certified grade. There is also a major lesson here for anyone searching their own collection. A normal circulated 1972D quarter should not automatically be described as a millionaire coin. The truly impressive values belong to extraordinary specimens, major authenticated errors, or exceptionally rare combinations of characteristics. The excitement comes from discovering whether your individual coin has something special that separates it from the many ordinary examples produced in 1972. Mint errors are another area that can create tremendous collector interest. During the production of millions of coins, unusual striking problems can occasionally occur. Collectors may investigate coins displaying dramatic off-center strikes, clipped planchets, wrong planchet errors, or other unusual minting characteristics. One documented 1972D Washington quarter struck on a 5-cent planchet was listed in CoinWorld's auction records at $199.75 in MS-64. Authenticity and professional attribution are especially important when evaluating unusual pieces. For collectors examining a 1972D quarter, good lighting and careful observation are valuable tools. Study the date and D-mint mark, then examine the lettering, portrait, eagle, rims, and edge. Compare an unusual-looking coin with a normal example of the same date. Differences that appear dramatic should be researched carefully rather than assumed to be errors, because genuine mint varieties and simple damage can sometimes look similar to an inexperienced eye. Another important part of collecting is protecting the coin once you find an interesting example. Handle the quarter by its edges and avoid cleaning or polishing it. Original surfaces are important in numismatics, and cleaning can permanently change the appearance of a coin. A protective holder can help preserve the piece while you research its characteristics and determine whether professional authentication or grading would make sense. The 1972D Washington quarter is also a wonderful educational coin because it connects several areas of American history. It represents the continuing legacy of George Washington, the Denver Mint, the development of copper-nickel-clad coinage, and everyday American life during the early 1970s. A coin does not have to be extremely rare to be historically fascinating, and this quarter is a perfect example of how an ordinary object can preserve a story from another era. Collector demand becomes especially interesting when a coin combines strong eye appeal with rarity. A high-grade example with clean surfaces, sharp details, and an exceptional strike can stand out dramatically from ordinary circulated quarters. PCGS records, for example, show strong differences between auction results at different grades, including a $31 result for an MS-67 example and a much higher recorded result for an MS-68 coin. This shows why condition and scarcity within a grade are so important. As you search through your quarters, remember that the most rewarding discovery is not always the coin with the biggest price tag. Finding an attractive 1972D quarter, learning how it was made, identifying its condition, and understanding its place in American history can be just as exciting. And if you happen to uncover an extraordinary variety or authenticated mint error, that discovery can take the experience to an entirely different level. So before you spend or set aside a 1972D Washington quarter, give it a careful examination. Check the D-mint mark, study the surfaces, look closely at the strike, and compare the coin with reliable references. The ordinary circulated examples are generally modestly valued, but certified high-grade coins and genuine unusual errors can be much more valuable. The documented auction history proves that exceptional 1972 D quarters can attract serious collector attention. The 1972 D Washington quarter may have started its life as a simple 25-cent piece, but today it can serve as an exciting doorway into the world of American numismatics. Its George Washington portrait, Denver Mint origin, classic eagle reverse, and fascinating range of grades and varieties make it a coin worth studying. Keep looking through your collections, preserve the coins that catch your attention, and continue learning about grading and authenticated varieties. You never know when an ordinary-looking quarter may turn out to be an exceptional piece that deserves a special place in your collection. Next up, the 1965 Washington quarter has no mint mark, and that detail is not an error. In fact, the United States Mint deliberately suspended mint marks during this period. Today, this fascinating coin continues to attract collectors because it represents the transition away from the traditional silver quarter and into the modern clad era. While ordinary circulated examples generally have modest values, exceptionally preserved coins and genuine rare varieties can attract considerably more collector attention. The story of the 1965 Washington quarter begins during a major period of change in the United States. Rising demand for coins and shortages of circulating currency led the government to make significant changes to the nation's coinage system. The Coinage Act of 1965 eliminated silver from regular quarters and dimes, introducing the copper-nickel clad composition that became standard for later circulating quarters. The 1965 quarter, therefore, marks a major turning point, making it an especially interesting date for anyone studying American coins. One of the most fascinating characteristics of the 1965 quarter is the absence of a mint mark. Collectors might naturally assume that a coin without a mint mark came from Philadelphia, but the situation was more complicated during this special period. The Philadelphia and Denver mints produced business strike quarters, while the San Francisco Assay Office also produced 1965 quarters without mint marks for the special mint set. This unusual production system is one reason the 1965 issue remains such an interesting chapter in United States numismatics. The 1965 Washington quarter features the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse, designed by John Flanagan. His portrait faces left and is surrounded by the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the date 1965. This classic design had already become one of the most recognizable images in American coinage, and seeing it on the first year of the new clad composition gives the coin an important historical identity. The reverse displays the traditional American eagle with outstretched wings, surrounded by United States of America, quarter dollar, and EPLURIBUS UNUM. Together, the obverse and reverse preserve the familiar appearance of the Washington quarter, while the underlying composition represents a dramatic change in American monetary history. For collectors, that combination of familiar design and revolutionary composition makes the 1965 issue especially appealing. The composition is one of the most important differences between a 1965 quarter and earlier Washington quarters. The 1965 circulation issue is copper-nickel clad with a copper core, weighs 5.67 grams, measures 24.3 millimeters across, and has a reeded edge. Quarters dated 1964 and earlier were 90% silver, while the regular 1965 issue belongs to the new clad era. Condition is where the collecting story becomes particularly exciting. A circulated 1965 quarter can show the marks of decades of everyday use, but attractive examples with strong details and pleasing surfaces can still make worthwhile additions to a collection. According to the current NGC guide, circulated 1965 quarters are generally valued around 30 cents to 85 cents, while exceptionally high-grade examples can be worth substantially more. The difference between ordinary circulation and exceptional preservation can be dramatic. NGC currently lists values reaching $100 at MS-67, $900 at MS-68, and $5,250 at MS-69 for the 1965 issue. These figures illustrate why condition matters so much in modern coin collecting. A common-looking quarter can remain inexpensive in circulation, while an extraordinarily preserved certified example can become a much more significant collectible. The auction market provides another fascinating perspective. PCGS reports an auction record of $12,650 for a 1965 Washington quarter in its auction price database. Results like this demonstrate that exceptional examples can attract serious competition, even when the original issue had a very large production total. The important lesson is that extraordinary prices generally belong to coins with exceptional grades, rarity, or other special characteristics, rather than to every circulated coin of the same date. Another exciting part of the 1965 quarter story is the existence of unusual varieties and errors. Because silver and clad coinage were being produced during the transition period, unusual pieces can exist, including 1965 dated quarters struck on silver planchets. NGC also notes that double-die varieties are known for 1965 quarters. Genuine examples of unusual varieties can attract additional collector interest when their authenticity is properly established. The special mint set connection adds another fascinating layer. San Francisco produced 2,360,000 1965 quarters for special mint sets, and these pieces can display sharper details and more proof-like surfaces than typical circulation strikes. Collectors therefore need to understand that not every no-mint mark 1965 quarter has exactly the same production history. Learning to distinguish regular circulation strikes from special mint set examples can make the collecting experience much more rewarding. When examining a 1965 quarter, take your time and study the entire coin rather than focusing only on the date. Look closely at Washington's portrait, the lettering, the eagle, the rims, and the overall surfaces. Pay particular attention to unusual doubling or other characteristics that appear different from a normal example. If something looks genuinely unusual, compare it with reliable numismatic references before deciding that it is a valuable variety. Preservation is equally important. If you discover an attractive or unusual 1965 quarter, handle it carefully by its edges and avoid cleaning or polishing it. Original surfaces are highly valued by collectors, and cleaning can permanently change a coin's appearance. A protective holder can help keep an interesting example safe while you continue researching its history, grade, and potential collector significance. The 1965 Washington quarter is ultimately much more than a 25-cent coin. It represents a major transformation in American money, the beginning of the clad quarter era, the temporary suspension of mint marks, and a fascinating period when silver and clad coinage existed side by side. Its large production numbers make ordinary circulated examples readily available, but the extraordinary auction records and high-grade values show just how exciting the market can become when a truly exceptional specimen appears. So the next time you see a 1965 Washington quarter without a mint mark, don't overlook it. Take a moment to appreciate the history behind the coin and examine its condition, surfaces, and possible varieties. Most circulated examples have modest collector values, but exceptional certified pieces and genuine rare varieties can be far more desirable. The 1965 quarter is a perfect reminder that the real excitement of coin collecting comes from learning what makes each piece special. And sometimes, an ordinary-looking quarter can turn out to be an extraordinary piece of American numismatic history. Next up, the 1984 Washington quarter with the D mint mark and circulated appearance. This coin comes from an important period in modern American coinage, and although ordinary circulated examples are generally modestly valued, exceptional specimens and genuine mint errors can attract significantly more attention from collectors. That possibility is what makes searching through older quarters so exciting. The Washington quarter has been part of American life for generations. The design was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth and eventually became one of the most recognizable designs in United States coinage. By 1984, the quarter had already been circulating for more than 5 decades, carrying the familiar portrait of Washington into a new generation. Today, collectors continue preserving these coins because each one represents a small piece of American history. The D-Mint mark is one of the first details collectors should examine. It identifies the 1984 quarter as a Denver Mint issue. According to NGC, the 1984 D Washington quarter is a copper-nickel-clad coin weighing 5.67 grams, measuring 24.3 millimeters in diameter and featuring a reeded edge. These specifications help collectors understand what a normal example should look like and can also help when an unusual coin deserves closer examination. On the obverse, collectors see the familiar portrait of George Washington facing left. The design by John Flanagan includes Liberty above the portrait, In God We Trust to the sides, and the date 1984 below. Even on a circulated example, the portrait can remain attractive and recognizable, allowing collectors to appreciate the craftsmanship that went into producing this small piece of American currency. The reverse presents the classic American eagle with its wings spread wide. Around the eagle are United States of America, quarter dollar, and EPLUIBUS UNUM. This familiar design remained a defining feature of the Washington quarter during the 1980s. Looking closely at both sides of the coin can reveal differences in strike quality, surface preservation, and unusual characteristics that may be important to collectors. The 1984 D quarter belongs to the copper-nickel-clad era rather than the 90% silver era of earlier Washington quarters. This distinction is important because many people assume that an older-looking quarter must contain silver. The 1984 D issue is a clad coin, making its collector value primarily dependent on condition, rarity, varieties, errors, and demand rather than silver content. Condition becomes especially important when evaluating this coin. NGC currently lists circulated 1984 D Washington quarters at approximately 30 cents to 85 cents, while its guide notes that pristine uncirculated examples can sell for considerably more. This demonstrates an important principle of coin collecting. The same date and mint mark can have dramatically different market values depending on preservation and grade. The auction market shows just how much premium quality can change the picture. PCGS reports a recorded auction price of $780 for a 1984 D quarter graded MS67 in a 2019 Heritage auction sale. NGC's auction records also show several MS67 examples selling for hundreds of dollars. These results show that truly exceptional examples can become highly desirable even when the ordinary circulated version is inexpensive. That is where the excitement of the 1984 D quarter really begins. The ordinary circulated coin is interesting because of its history, but an unusually well-preserved example can occupy a completely different position in the collector market. A coin with exceptional surfaces, strong strike details, and outstanding overall eye appeal can stand apart from the large number of circulated examples that exist. Mint errors and unusual varieties can create another level of collector interest. During the striking process, coins can occasionally develop unusual characteristics because of problems involving dies, planchets, or striking alignment. Collectors may investigate dramatic off-center strikes, clipped planchets, doubled details, die cracks, and other unusual features. Any suspected error should be carefully researched and professionally authenticated before assigning a premium value. If you are examining a 1984 D quarter at home, bright lighting can make the inspection much easier. Look carefully at the date, D-Mint mark, lettering, portrait, eagle, rims, and edge. Compare anything unusual with a normal 1984 D quarter. This careful approach can help distinguish an interesting mint-made characteristic from ordinary circulation damage. Preservation is equally important once you find a coin that catches your attention. Handle it by the edges and avoid cleaning or polishing it. Original surfaces are important to collectors, and cleaning can permanently alter the appearance of a coin. A simple protective holder can help keep an interesting quarter safe while you research its condition and potential significance. The 1984 D Washington quarter is also an excellent educational coin. Studying it can teach you about George Washington, the Denver Mint, clad coinage, grading, minting technology, and the way collector demand influences prices. You do not need to find an extremely rare coin for the hobby to be rewarding. Understanding why a particular coin is interesting is one of the most enjoyable parts of collecting. For collectors searching for exciting discoveries, the 1984 D issue is worth remembering because its market demonstrates the importance of condition. PCGS currently records an auction result of $780 for an MS-67 example, while its price information shows values increasing substantially for the finest grades. These figures are reminders that extraordinary examples can attract serious competition, even though an ordinary circulated example remains a modest value collectible. So the next time a 1984 D Washington quarter comes into your hands, don't immediately dismiss it. Examine the D mint mark, study the surfaces, inspect the design details, and consider its overall condition. Most circulated examples are worth close to their ordinary collectible value, but exceptionally preserved certified pieces and genuine unusual mint errors can be far more desirable. The 1984 D quarter may not make every collector a millionaire, but the exceptional examples documented in the market prove that there can be exciting value differences hidden within the same date and mint mark. As we finish today's journey, remember that coin collecting is about discovery, history, and learning what separates an ordinary coin from an extraordinary one. The 1984 D Washington quarter carries the classic portrait of George Washington, the unmistakable Denver Mint mark, and the story of American-clad coinage during the 1980s. Keep examining your older quarters, preserve the interesting ones carefully, and continue learning about grades, varieties, and authenticated errors. You never know when an ordinary-looking quarter might turn out to be an exceptional piece worthy of serious collector attention. Next up, the 1991 Washington quarter with the P mint mark can be an interesting piece of modern American coinage. Today, we are exploring this 1991 P issue in extra fine condition and looking at the history, design, collector appeal, market value, and the characteristics that can make an individual example stand out. While a normal circulated 1991 P quarter generally has a modest value, exceptional high-grade examples and genuine mint errors can attract considerably more attention. NGC currently lists circulated 1991 P quarters around 30 cents to 85 cents, with higher values for exceptional certified grades. The Washington quarter has been a major part of American coinage since 1932, when the United States introduced the design to commemorate the bicentennial of George Washington's birth. By 1991, the quarter had already been circulating for almost 60 years, making this issue part of a long-running American tradition. Collectors today appreciate these coins because they connect everyday currency with the history of the United States and the evolution of American coin production. The P mint mark is an important feature of this particular quarter because it identifies Philadelphia as the mint of origin. The 1991 P quarter belongs to the copper-nickel clad era, with a weight of 5.67 grams, a diameter of 24.3 millimeters, and a reeded edge. These details give collectors a useful reference point when examining a coin and comparing it with other Washington quarters from the same period. On the obverse, you will find the familiar portrait of George Washington facing left. John Flanagan's classic design includes Liberty above the portrait, In God We Trust beside Washington, the date 1991 below, and the P mint mark near the lower right area of the design. Even after years of circulation, an attractive extra fine example can preserve strong details in Washington's portrait and surrounding lettering. The reverse displays the famous American eagle with its wings spread wide. Around the eagle are United States of America, quarter dollar, and EPLUBUS UNUM. This traditional design gives the 1991 P quarter an unmistakable American identity and provides collectors with another area to examine for strike quality, surface preservation, and unusual characteristics. Extra fine condition is particularly interesting because it represents a coin that has circulated but still retains substantial design detail. On a pleasing extra fine example, Washington's portrait remains clearly defined, the lettering is strong, and the reverse eagle continues to display attractive detail. Natural wear tells part of the coin's story, while the remaining design elements preserve its visual appeal. The coin's copper-nickel-clad composition is another important part of its identity. Unlike the silver Washington quarters dated 1964 and earlier, the 1991 P quarter belongs to the modern clad series. This means that collectors generally focus on condition, rarity, varieties, errors, and demand when evaluating its potential collector value rather than expecting significant value from silver content. Current market information demonstrates how strongly condition can influence value. NGC's July 2026 guide places circulated 1991 P Washington quarters around 30 cents to 85 cents, while its listed values rise for higher mint state grades, reaching $115 at the top listed MS grade in its guide. These figures show why collectors carefully separate ordinary circulated coins from exceptional certified specimens. The auction market gives another perspective on premium examples. PCGS records a 1991 P Washington quarter graded MS66 that sold for $52 at Great Collections in 2011. NGC's auction database also records sales for 1991 P examples, showing that certified coins can attract additional collector interest when their grade and quality make them stand out. The most exciting possibilities come when a coin has something unusual beyond its date and mint mark. Collectors study Washington quarters for genuine double details, unusual die characteristics, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other mint-made errors. A dramatic, authentic error can create a completely different level of collector interest, but unusual-looking coins should always be carefully researched before being described as valuable errors. If you have a 1991 P quarter in extra fine condition, examine it under good lighting and take your time. Look at the date, P mint mark, lettering, Washington's portrait, the eagle, the rims, and the reeded edge. Comparing your coin with a normal 1991 P example can make unusual characteristics much easier to recognize. Careful observation is one of the most enjoyable parts of coin collecting. Preserving the coin is just as important as identifying it. Handle an interesting quarter by its edges and avoid cleaning, polishing, or scratching the surfaces. Original surfaces are important to collectors, and unnecessary cleaning can reduce the coin's appeal. A simple protective holder can keep the coin safe while you continue researching its condition and collector potential. The 1991 P Washington quarter is also a wonderful educational coin. Studying it can teach you about George Washington, Philadelphia mint production, clad coinage, grading standards, and the relationship between rarity and collector demand. Even when a coin does not have an extraordinary price, understanding its history can make it much more meaningful as part of a collection. The dream of finding a coin worth a remarkable amount of money is one of the reasons coin collecting remains so exciting, but the real value story depends on the individual coin. A normal circulated 1991 P quarter is not generally a millionaire coin, while exceptional certified examples or genuine major mint errors can be significantly more desirable. Current market records demonstrate that premium condition can create a large difference in value. As we come to the end of today's journey, remember that the 1991 P Washington quarter is more than just 25 cents. It carries the historic portrait of George Washington, the Philadelphia Mint's P designation, the classic American eagle reverse, and the story of American clad coinage in the early 1990s. Keep checking your older quarters, protect the interesting examples you discover, and continue learning about grading and authenticated varieties. Your next exciting find may not be a millionaire coin, but it could still be a fascinating piece of American numismatic history with genuine collector appeal.